One of the biggest changes that any human being would ever live through is occurring right now in the world. A shift of power is taking place. A shift of economic power and a shift of political power. Across this planet, emerging markets are becoming the centers of both economic decision-making and geopolitical power. Now, if you were born in the 1940s, or let's say you were in your working life in the 1940s, you would have experienced the Second World War, and you would have experienced the rise of the United States as a global power. You would have experienced the decline to some degree of Western Europe. But between 1940 and 1990, the Western world was still very much in the ascendancy. We all now are experiencing a decline in the power of the Western world, whether we like it or not. And I'm sure there are many in the audience who are sort of oriented towards the Western world, and that's fine. But there are others in the world who've got cash. There are others in the world who are more productive than the Western world. There are others in the world who are going to grow at much higher growth rates into the future. And in a sense, for us here in South Africa, we are almost perfectly located to take advantage of these changes. And that's why I like South Africa's entry into the BRICS group of countries. You know, there are skeptics about these four big powers. And when we talk about BRICS, we shouldn't just talk about Brazil, Russia, India, and China. We should talk about what's called the next 11. There are another 10, 11, 12 emerging markets out there that are as exciting as the Chinas and Brazils of this world, if not more so. And you only have to look at growth rates over the course of the last year to see where these exciting economies are. They are in Indonesia. They are in Turkey. They are in Mexico. They are in the Philippines. Philippines had fantastic growth results this last week. In fact, the Filipino economy is growing at a better level than the Indian economy in the stats over this last week. These are the exciting markets that we are going to be involved in going forward. They're emerging. We're emerging. And we have to be aware of the competition on every level that's going to come and hit us, not just from the Chinas and Indias, but from the Turkeys and the Indonesias of this world. Those companies operating out of those countries are already looking for global acquisitions. They're already here in Africa as well, alongside the Chinese and alongside the Indians. And watch out for a global economy that's going to become even more competitive into the future. Just look at the projections for who's going to be top dog, I suppose, by 2050. And I hope we all are hale and hearty by 2050, and I would argue late in my presentation that we will be. By 2040, look at the red line. The red line indicates the size of the Chinese economy. It's going to continue to grow, albeit at a little more, slightly slower pace. But every projection still shows that the Chinese will become the world's largest economy in terms of GDP output by 2040 or so. The US, still a major superpower, will drop to second place in terms of GDP output. India, the rise of India, the third largest economy in the world expected by 2050. And look at the others on the screen. You can see the fifth little blue blob there, BR, Brazil. Brazil, estimated to be about the world's fifth or sixth largest economy by 2050. In fact, Brazil overtook the United Kingdom only 2 months ago in terms of its total GDP output. If you'd had an economist here 10 years ago, and the economist would have said to you, watch out for the Brazilian market, it's going to be the hotshot economy of the future, you would have laughed the economist off the stage. Brazil, at one point, a weak currency, a military government, corruption, inefficiency. Today, one of the hotshot economies in the world. So the world is shifting, and the global orientation of where business is going to be is shifting. And it's good news for us. And here's a graph as well. Just look, it's a very important graph. And I wish I could highlight it to you with my highlighter. But look at the line of the developed, the blue line indicates the GDP output of developed economies of this world. And the black line indicates the GDP output of the emerging economies of this world. And if we go back to 1990, you'll see how the developed world, the US, Western Europe, Japan, outproduced the developing nations substantially. But look how that line is converging. And in about 5 years' time, emerging markets of this world are going to produce more than the developed markets of this world. It's a critical point in human history, and we are going to live